Hello and welcome to Hiring Our Heroes virtual career community. We are excited to kick off our week with a really awesome presentation. For those of you that are joining us today, you are going to learn everything about a pathway to a career in cybersecurity. I will introduce our presenter here shortly, but before we get started, my name is Marnie Holder. I'm the Director of Hiring Events for Hiring Our Heroes. And we're recording today's session, so if you miss it in its entirety or you want to refer back to it, you can go to our resource page on our website, which we'll have at the end of our presentation. Another thing I want you to know, if you do have a question for our presenter today, you can go into our Q&A feature and we will tee that up at the end of the session. And really, we welcome any of your questions. This is all about you. We want to make sure that you are getting every bit of information as you prepare for, your career in cybersecurity. I apologize. So I want to turn it over to our presenter today. We have with us 1150 Academy, and they are one of our partners that is incredibly instrumental in leading the cybersecurity pathway to employment. They are part of our IT and tech initiative. We are hiring and positioning you all as job seekers for the careers in technology. Over the next 3 years, we're looking to get 100,000 of you hired in career paths of IT and cybersecurity. So Hutch, I want to turn it over to you and the 1150 Academy team. And I am excited. I know I learned something every time I hear you present. So I'm looking forward to a great session. Over to you, Hutch.
Thanks, Marnie. You teed it up pretty high. So I'm hoping that I can achieve everybody's hope here that it's going to be a great presentation. So thank you very much. I'm very excited to speak to everybody today. Thanks to Hiring Our Heroes for having 1150 on. We'll talk a little bit more about the Academy, but really one of the main focuses that we're going to touch on today are 5 reasons veterans are a great fit for cybersecurity. It's really hard to even turn on the news any day and not hear about cybersecurity attacks and how it's impacting not only our country, but globally. So I think it's a very crucial job path and something I'm excited to talk to you guys about. Next slide, please. So as Marnie mentioned, my name is Chris Hutchinson. I am the Senior Vice President of Engagement at 1150 Academy. I've been with 1150 since February of 2020. Most crucial to this role, I had some previous experience working for another boot camp called Iron Yard. And then prior to that, spent some time in higher education as Director of International Partner Relationships for Harrison College. And the last 4 or 5 years, I actually ran 2 of my own small businesses and never really was getting the fulfillment of what I have a significant passion for. And that really is connecting with community leaders, employer partners, educational institutions, nationwide organizations that really focus on creating pathways and driving community engagement to shorten the path between those seeking work and those that have jobs. And so I was really fortunate to connect with Scott Jones towards the end of 2019, who's the founder of 1150 Academy. And if you're not familiar with 1150, we are a nonprofit organization focused on high quality, immersive software development, web development, and cybersecurity boot camps. Our programs run from 12 to 26 weeks long. And really, we have a tight connection with over 220 employers, primarily in Indiana, where we originally founded. But now those employer partnerships are spreading outside of the state of Indiana. When COVID hit, we had to transition from being an on-ground only organization to being fully online. And with that, we now have students in over 26 states and have an active service member that's taking one of our programs in Germany as well. So really excited to talk to all of you today, talk a little bit more about cybersecurity as a potential pathway. Next slide, please. So veterans in the workforce, as you all transition from your time as a service member or servicemen and women into the job market, we understand that veterans possess both strong and essential skills that employers more and more each day are really looking for and appreciate kind of the advanced training that veterans have as they exit the service. One kind of jarring statistic, however, is that 37% of veterans are more likely to be underemployed, and we're trying to eliminate that gap. And what we're finding is that within the civilian career market, a lot of hiring decisions are now really based on professional certifications and credentials. So it is a lot of decisions are now being made based on competencies. What skill-based competencies do you have? And one of the best ways to demonstrate that is through industry approved and industry sought after credentials and certifications. So the good news is that more than half, or 55% of veterans that are transitioning to the civilian life are going to be doing something entirely different than what they may have been trained on while they were in active duty. And although that may sound a little bit alarming, well, the great news with that is that what civilian career markets are looking for, there's really an opportunity for you all to go out and earn these certifications that are in such high demand. And so as you're making decisions about what career pathway makes the most sense for you, and obviously this conversation is about cybersecurity, and if that does seem to be something that you're interested in, there are really some clear pathways that are available through Hiring Our Heroes and through 1150 and through other organizations that are going to ensure that you get positioned to find the best way and the quickest pathway to find an employment opportunity just right for you. Next slide, please. Okay, so what industries employ the most veterans? So we've listed several here, and I want to talk about a few others as well. So based on LinkedIn Veteran Opportunity Report, the 3 industries hiring the most veterans currently are defense and aerospace, utilities, and government administration. So those happen to be the 3 biggest industries that are also concerned with cybersecurity, but they aren't the only ones. And I think an important point that I want to make is that in 2021, really every company is a tech company, regardless of what vertical market they're in, and every company is going to have cybersecurity needs. So it's no longer just banking and healthcare, and then the 3 that are listed here that have cybersecurity needs, and obviously utilities. That's a major company or a major sector right now that has a lot of focus on it with what's happened recently with oil companies in the United States, et cetera. But really, when you think about it, any company, particularly post-COVID, has cybersecurity. It should be a top priority for their organization. So if you think about even heavy manufacturing industries, a lot of that equipment is now being replaced by robots on the more dangerous types of positions. And almost all of that equipment is controlled through programmable logic. And so programmable logic controls is a new hot area where hackers are hacking into to affect and damage manufacturing processes. And post-pandemic, every company really was making a move to doing more online business, and they need to protect that data and protect the integrity of those purchases or interactions with their customers online. So there may be higher demand in defense and aerospace, utilities, and government administration. But when you really take a pause and step back, really every vertical market now has huge cybersecurity needs. And we're seeing that there was gaps nationwide in terms of number of cybersecurity positions needed and those that could fill those prior to the pandemic. And we're seeing that that number is only increasing. So that gap is only going to continue to grow. And candidly, we really feel that cybersecurity is going to be one of the hottest, if not leading, job areas for a long time to come. And one of the benefits that veterans have is that they have experience, which we're going to cover here, these next 5 points. But also another sought after demand is those that have cybersecurity credentials, but also maybe have some security clearances as well. So 3.5 million cybersecurity jobs are expected to go unfilled by the end of this year. And so I want to talk a little bit more about the 5 reasons why veterans are in a great position and especially qualified to excel in this field. So next slide, please. So one of the first point I want to talk about is that cybersecurity is a role of intensity. It is a very high stakes field with a critical mission, and that mission is protecting civilians and businesses from harm through a variety of cyber crimes. Some of the cyber crimes that you may have heard of recently is malware or ransomware, particularly as it relates to oil companies in the United States. So malware or ransomware, if you're not familiar, is a malicious program that infiltrates a device to achieve criminal goals. Ransomware, holding a company ransom. They're demanding payment for vital information to be released or undamaged so that they can continue with their business. Phishing attacks, and I always like talking about this because everyone assumes that I'm a tech guru, and I'm not. I can do enough coding where if I press a button, it'll count how many times that button's been pressed. That's the extent of my coding experience. But a phishing attack is a hacker who poses as a trusted organization to try and steal vital information. And in my first week on the job, I received an email from our founder, Scott Jones, asking me to run out and buy him some gift cards. And like an idiot, I replied to that email and then quickly learned that Scott never asks for gift cards, and I get it held over my head a lot, and it's quite the topic of conversation in a lot of our leadership meetings. So the folks that are doing this are getting more and more clever, and they're attempting to really hit anybody, particularly new email addresses that pop up within an organization, and so it gets more and more challenging to prevent those. Thankfully, I learned my lesson and I haven't clicked on any of those again. Another critical mission area is online credential breach. This is probably something that is a little bit more familiar. Someone stealing your information or passwords so they can go into bank accounts or health records, things along those lines. So fighting threats like this really means that every single moment is important. In cybersecurity, you are constantly in a defensive position, and you have to be alert at all times. There is really no time to let your guard down. So cybersecurity teams are always moving more towards, or are beginning to move more towards, military tactics, and are really seeking out leaders like yourself because of really how this is very much a warlike or a protection-like scenario that you are all very familiar with, having gone through your experience in the military and the service. So next slide, please. A second key point is that cybersecurity means combating adversaries. So fighting an adversary means being able to think like they do, both in a combat and cybersecurity realm. This means kind of anticipating their strategy and what those next steps may look like of an enemy organization. And we'll talk a little bit more about 1150 and their program, but what I will mention that we are really excited about our cybersecurity program is that our students actually get to work on it's a cyber bit range. So it's a practice range, and we split up our teams in red and blue teams. And we have the red team spend a week attacking the blue team, and then we flip flop. And the second week, then the blue team attacks the red team. And we put folks through 14 different attack scenarios. Not only do we teach how to defend against those scenarios, but we're also teaching you what those attacks look like so that you're better prepared to understand what your enemy is when you're in a cybersecurity role. So Semantic, just to kind of paint a picture of just how vast and how much cybersecurity crime there is and how many attacks there are. Semantic in 2019 reported that their sensors blocked 142 million threats a day. And that's just one entity. That's just one cybersecurity company. So quickly you can see the direction that we're going in. This is very much the new frontier that needs to be protected, and more companies are seeking out folks that have this mentality. So kind of working through and getting training in cybersecurity is really going to help you achieve these practical, very significant and standalone skills that are highly sought after, and they really support the mental best practices of strategy and perspective that most service members have already developed. So it's not very much more of a stretch to get into the mentality that you already have. It's just a little bit of a different looking enemy, or it's a little bit of a different platform that you're protecting. So next slide, please. Okay, so cybersecurity relies on effective teamwork. And if we know anything about the military, it is built on teamwork and being able to lean against your colleagues. In fact, most of what the military does has been studied and published on, and even inspires a lot of best practices in civilian organizations today. So a lot of what you've already been taught going through boot camp from day one and learning how to trust one another and kind of a we, not me mentality. All of that is now being seen more and more in all of civilian industry, but particularly in cybersecurity departments. So the success of the mission is more important than the individual or any one person's ego in the military, and that's exactly the same in cybersecurity. So it's not necessarily always easy to work on a team, but in cybersecurity, it's absolutely essential because not one person can manage all of these threats. So you have to build, processes that work well. You have to be able to rely on your fellow cybersecurity experts, and so that military mindset, where you're focused on outcomes and not creating excuses, is really going to help civilian workforces and civilian employees do better just by following and leading, and you leading by example. So the translation between service members into cybersecurity is something that we hear continually from our over 220 employer partners, and what skills that you're bringing to the table, those intangibles that you have, are going to really be beneficial as you make the transition into a cybersecurity field. Next slide, please. Okay, so cybersecurity requires and rewards adaptation. So you kind of heard me talking a little bit earlier from the phishing standpoint. These phishing emails are getting more and more clever. They actually, the one that I referenced included Scott's email address and a phone number, which ended up not being his phone number, but it was the same area code. And so they're getting more and more clever in their attacks. And veterans are used to adapting to new orders, having to pivot, having to make changes in real time where time is of the essence. So working in that scenario works incredibly well with veterans. It's also, cybersecurity is also a field that requires an adaptive work style. You're not going to be able to just do the exact same thing over and over again. And that's also one of the other draws in this field. You're going to have new challenges every day. You're not going to just be solving the same problems day in and day out, particularly as you grow in your career, gain more knowledge, gain more experience. Cybersecurity has a number of different badges. Everything's kind of based on skills badges, and there's always something new that can be learned. So cybersecurity analysts and senior level cybersecurity members, yeah, you're going to get some initial skills, but this is a career path more than ever where you're going to have to do kind of continued learning and acquire more knowledge. The nice thing with that is that usually accompanies pay raises and opportunities to advance through organizations. So having the ability to kind of drop everything and respond to a critical mission, and then picking up where you left off once that threat is neutralized, is really an important skill in cybersecurity. And to kind of paint that picture, the University of Maryland reported that hackers attack an organization every 39 seconds. You think about that, most of us work an 8 or 9 hour day. Most civilians work an 8 or 9 hour day. Every 39 seconds, I'm not going to try and show off the math there, but that's a lot of attacks. And when you spread that out, not only just across the fact that, there's companies that have locations here, but then abroad, you're really leaving yourself exposed if you don't have a strong cybersecurity team. So no matter where you end up working, that business could become the next target with that many attacks. There's only so many businesses on the planet that these hackers can hack into. And like I said, they're continually trying to find new creative ways to take what's not theirs. So the defense of those organizations is really key. Next slide, please. And lastly, cybersecurity means dedication to service. So really at its core, cybersecurity is a profession of service. This industry is dedicated to protecting folks that are at risk, and is really there to try and serve the good of the people or the good of the organization. So it aligns very well and has a common value of your military service as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about cybersecurity job training, and particularly what 1150 Academy does. So right now, 1150 cybersecurity boot camps prepare you with 2 CompTIA Plus industry certifications. There is a Network Plus and a Security Plus certification. And our courses are either 14 weeks full-time, which is a 8 to 5, Monday to Friday, 40-hour a week of live classroom time scenario, with then additional work in the evenings and weekends, or a 26-week, which is a part-time program where you are taking classes primarily in the evenings or the weekends. And as you go through that program, you will then sit for and test as part of our program, both the network and security plus CompTIA cybersecurity certification. And our employer partners at a base level are looking for those certifications as kind of an entry point in hiring. There's also companies that are going to be looking to achieve cloud security, while others are going to be looking at email protection, identity theft, any number of other needs. And those are the organizations that we work with. Out of demand for cybersecurity, not only with the work that we're doing with Hiring Our Heroes and a lot of the employer partners that have partnerships and relationships with Hiring Our Heroes, 1150 has reached out to a number of employer partners as well. And what we've heard and the feedback that we've gotten is that they need more certifications. And so 1150 is in process of finalizing a rollout of a program that would essentially allow an individual over the course of a year, if they did it all at once, to achieve 9 cybersecurity badges through CompTIA, and essentially be at the highest level of CompTIA certification that any person can be. We're looking at rolling that out a little bit more completely, probably later this year or January of next year. But the timing is great because in the interim, if you were to decide to pursue cybersecurity as a career path, the program that we have now, getting you set up for those 2 badges, really is the entry point that you would have to accomplish anyway before working towards an additional 9 badges. So just like when you're choosing a branch of the military and talking with leadership about your specialization, your career path in cybersecurity is shaped by the way you want to serve as well. So the initial entrance point that 1150 provides is excellent and is going to get you in front of any number of large hiring partners. Some of the folks that we work with, 1150 particularly, we work with Amazon. We have Infosys, which is a global company, right now has hired more of our cybersecurity graduates than any other company that we work with. We've placed people at Salesforce. We've placed people at Google. So we do work with a lot of large organizations, and more, one of the benefits of this career path is that more and more of these positions are able to be done remotely as well. So if there's certain areas where you want to live, you don't necessarily have to relocate to where their physical headquarters are. More and more of these positions are able to be done remotely, as well as there's opportunities for vet spouses as well, because of the remote nature of this work. So we're really excited about our program. It's a little over 2 years old. Our partnership with Cyberbit as a practice range partner. Cyberbit is a company out of Israel that builds these practice ranges, and 1150 is the only boot camp in the country to utilize this range. And we were actually the first institution in the state of Indiana to use this range. And we are now in competition a little bit with Purdue University, who also added a range. Next slide, please. Okay, so cybersecurity training and the GI Bill. 1150 is a GI Bill accepting academy, and can continue to leverage those resources as transitioning service members want to be able to utilize them. And the cybersecurity bootcamp really provides a great alternative to vet tech training. And although 1150 is working towards becoming vet tech approved, currently in Indiana, there aren't any other vet tech training providers. 1150 will be hopefully by the end of this calendar year, if not sooner than that. But boot camps are really a great way to get this practical career education and then have it fully covered by your GI Bill benefits and without having to take on any student loans. The other piece with this that's important is that in some instances, 1150 can provide stipend for books and housing, and you really then will be prepared for high-paying, high-rewarded jobs in a matter of months compared to traditional higher education pathways, which sometimes require 2 or 4 years. We have had veterans come through our program that did not want to utilize GI Bill, their GI Bill benefits, and that's fine as well. We are actually we've developed a number of additional funding buckets for veterans and for others interest-free student loans that are contingent on graduating and getting employment. So there's a number of avenues that you can pursue. We just like making mention of the fact that we are GI Bill approved and will be vet tech approved as well. But please don't let that be a determining factor. Please seek us out. We're more than willing to have individual one-on-one conversations to determine what the best pathway is for each individual and or spouse as well. We really look at each student's journey as kind of an individual pathway. We're not trying to put square holes into round pegs, anything along those lines, square holes, circles into square pegs, sorry. And really want to know what your best career path is, where you're living, where you want to end up, what would make sense for you. Is it a full-time program? Is it a part-time program? Right now, all of our programs are currently online, but we are moving probably in Q3 to getting back to on-ground courses, both in Indiana and hopefully on bases around the country as well. So we're actively looking at where we can have some of these on-ground training opportunities or hybrid training opportunities in addition to having online programs as well. Next slide, please. So kind of a call to action, and then I will open it up. I see we have a couple questions in the Q&A, and again, I encourage anyone that has questions to go ahead and post them into the Q&A box. We offer free intro classes, and we have these free intro classes that happen weekly. And so just encourage you to visit 1150.org/courses to learn a little bit more about those. You can also visit our website, and if you'd like, you can talk to one of our admissions coaches as well. They can answer a ton more questions for you. But with that, I'd love to be able to provide some answers to any of your questions, and I'll turn it back to you, Marnie, and see who may have some questions for us.
So we do appreciate everyone who is populating our Q&A. So first one is, this individual is currently in the 1150 cybersecurity program and is getting some great value out of it. So kudos to you. I'd love to have those testimonials. They're learning more, or they've heard about the plan to add new cybersecurity courses in the future that tackle higher certifications. When can we expect those to come out, and will they be vet tech eligible?
Yes, so if it was up to us, we'd already be vet tech eligible, but as you guys can imagine, there's some processes to go through with that. So we're hoping to be approved by vet tech, hopefully within the next month or so. It's a little bit of an arduous process, but I think we're positioned pretty well with our successful numbers and placements, et cetera, and then our relationship with Hiring Our Heroes. And in terms of when those new programs will become available, they're available now at a corporate training level, but we have to get them approved by the state of Indiana, and that's going to take a little bit of time. We're anticipating having those 9 new cyber badges or cyber certifications available, offering in January at the latest, maybe a little bit earlier than that, but we still have some development time. So for the person that's already in our program, they may have to wait a little bit, depending if they decided to go full-time or part-time now. But for those that were kind of in the audience today that have yet to make that transition, that timing would work really well, because it would give you time to go through our initial cybersecurity program as it sits now, earn that SEC and Network Plus CompTIA certification, and then be in a position to get employment and then move into one of those programs or all of them part-time while you're still working. So that's one of the benefits of the way that we offer our programs, Marnie, is that for those that have the ability to go full-time and are maybe able to use benefits, whether it's vet tech or GI Bill benefits, we highly encourage that. But upon graduation, you can continue to skill up and do that in a part-time capacity while also earning a salary. Another question on here was, can we use Army Cool? Sorry, Chris, I don't know what that is, but one of our admissions representatives most definitely would. And so that same website that I gave you, if you go and look at intro classes, very easily you'd be able to talk to one of our admissions advisors as well. And for any of the other questions related to specific funding buckets, they would be in a little bit of a better position to answer those questions. Our director of admissions is actually a veteran, and our program director for cybersecurity is also a veteran as well. So we're very vet focused on all of our programs, but particularly cyber, just because of how well it aligns.
So cool. I'll just jump in. Cool is certification opportunities online, and it's a registered system. But yeah, you refer them to the right people internally because they would probably know best.
Yeah. And then Pradeep asked, I have 15 years plus experience in IT software development programming. How can my experience fit in if I switch to cybersecurity? It's going to be dependent on kind of an employer partner by employer partner basis, Pradeep, but quite candidly, to have that heavy of a background in software dev and programming, it would be highly sought after by the majority of our employer partners, because not only would you then have the skills to operate effectively kind of on the front lines of cybersecurity, but you also know a lot of the other components that goes into, back end, front end, et cetera. So you'd be in a great position. You're essentially stacking your credentials and certifications. It makes you a much more robust candidate. The majority of the folks that we place are fitting into entry to mid-level positions. I would say that transitioning veterans find themselves in more mid-level positions, even if they complete a cybersecurity or coding program with us, based on a lot of the skills that they've already developed in the military. Someone like you, Pradeep, that has 15 plus years of experience, you're probably, you may still start in a little bit more of an entry or mid-level cybersecurity position, but that background would really open you up for quick and rapid career advancement. It just kind of depends on each employer partner. But again, between the folks that 1150 works with and Hiring Our Heroes, there's a lot of resources there that could have those conversations in advance. I think what Marnie and I really want to impress upon everybody here today is this initiative around 100,000 vets in tech is really crucial, and it's critical. Just based on some of the numbers I shared with you guys today, there's a ton of opportunities, not only in cybersecurity, but in tech as a whole. And what we're really excited about with all these partnerships is developing what we kind of call these career pathways, where we take veterans or transitioning veterans, we identify what skill they have an interest or a passion for. We then kind of show them what that training pathway looks like. And at the end of that pathway, then there are these job buckets where a number of companies are going to kind of have the jobs that the training that you have received make you eligible for, at minimum, at least an interview. And in some instances, they may be able to hire directly. So you'll hear a lot more about that. But I really encourage everyone on this call, if cybersecurity is something that you're interested in, we would obviously love to talk to you at 1150, but do your own due diligence as well. There are self-paced programs. There are 4-year CS degrees. There are boot camps. Obviously, we'd love to help as many of you as possible, but you really want to make sure that you find what the best pathway is for you. What makes us, I think, unique, and why I think Hiring Our Heroes sees such value in us, is the speed at which we're able to churn out high quality graduates. And really the proof of that is what we hear from our employer partners. You're able to get through training, and I'm not going to lie, it's incredibly challenging. It's called boot camp for a reason. It's fully immersive. We've had people cry in class. It is very challenging, but you come through it at the end, and you've gotten through it because of the grit and determination that has made you excellent servicemen and women. And that's really what employers look for. So it gets you to market that much faster as well. So instead of going through 3 or 4 year program, you're getting trained much more quickly and are starting to earn high paying jobs much more quickly as well. So I just kind of wanted to share that with you. I know that wasn't a direct question, but really encourage you to do your due diligence and have an understanding of what it means if you do a self-paced program, if you do a boot camp, and if you do a 2 or 4 year degree program. So a couple other questions on here.
Yeah, I was going to pull up a few. There's one, it's just talking about the location of the training. Is it remote training, something that you can do from any location or any state? And then where are your employers that you work with? Are they only in Indiana, or are you working with employers elsewhere?
Yeah, so right now our programs are fully 100% online, and the GI Bill benefit is eligible through at least the end of the year online. We'll see what happens. That was changed due to CARES Act and the pandemic. My guess is that they will continue to allow for online training, but we're not going to just sit and hope that's the case. Yeah, our physical classrooms right now are in Indiana, but we are working with Hiring Our Heroes on providing some of this training on hopefully as many bases as possible that HOH has relationships with. We do have the ability to spin those classes up relatively quickly. So as we kind of get into the third quarter of this year and continue to move more towards whatever that new normal is, you will see 1150 on ground in some of these locations still yet this year for face-to-face classroom training. In terms of our employer partners, yeah, that's a great question. We now have over 220 employer partners, as far away as one in the Netherlands, and then we do have some that are outside the state of Indiana. But the majority of them right now on the 1150 side do reside in Indiana. However, I want to be clear, part of our partnership with Hiring Our Heroes is to align 1150 as well as other training providers with a number of global employer partners. So we're working not only with Hiring Our Heroes, but a number of those employer partners to find the correct pathways from our training into any fellowship programs that they have an understanding of what their requirements are, who needs clearances, et cetera. So there'll be a number of clear pathways developed for anyone that's interested in any variety of tech pathways. Obviously, I'm here to talk more about cybersecurity, but really whatever your passion is as it relates to tech, there's going to be a clear-cut pathway for you with a large number of area employers. And again, a large number of global employers. But again, a lot of those jobs won't necessarily require you to physically relocate. So you can kind of go to where you want in most instances and be able to work remotely.
And this particular question isn't on there, but I was just going to say, kind of caveating what you've already discussed. So if somebody does want to go through the training program, and because you guys work with the employers where the needs are at, is it something where you can work with them on pairing them with an employer that will allow them to stay where they're at?
Yeah, so part of what 1150 I think does well is we have an understanding of, well, first of all, we have a dedicated career services team. So we have an entire division that's dedicated to working with all of our graduates, but with particular attention to our veteran graduates. We also work with employer partners that have specific vet hiring initiatives. So as you enter the program, we don't really interact. Career services doesn't really interact with any of the students in the first 2 weeks or so, because it's very much like drinking from a fire hose. But at about week 3 or so is when students begin having opportunities to engage with our career services team. It's at that point where students get an opportunity to start participating in mock interviews, and we start seeing the personalities of folks and where we know they might be a fit. And if folks are saying, hey, I want to live in XYZ, who do you work with where I could work remotely? Well, then we know, okay, we need to start channeling them towards these opportunities. And also, you'll want to continue to engage and work with Hiring Our Heroes as well. Collectively, between Hiring Our Heroes career coaches and our career services team at 1150, we'll make sure that you get steered in the right direction, and not have you set an expectation for a position with a company and then find out that you have to relocate for it. So I want to be clear, not 100% of the jobs can be done remotely, but depending on what your scenario is, the earlier we know that, the more effective we can be with our resources and having those conversations. And a good tie-in here, Brent Rogers asked, can you talk about the benefit of going through your program versus studying or testing for the NET and SEC Plus on your own? So a couple things with 1150. Again, you're going to get the advantage of our career services team as kind of support as you go through the program, and access to our employer partners. Studying and taking it on your own, there's clearly benefit there, but employers tend to look for folks that have gone through a program that is a little bit more immersive or has some higher standards of expectation, just in terms of the content and at the pace at which you're studying it. Now, if that's your only option, certainly encourage you to do due diligence and look into that. But when you're doing those courses on your own, they're not held as at the highest of standards. So they tend to not be, if there's two candidates and one candidate went through a boot camp, they're probably going to lean more towards the boot camp person, because they know that in order to graduate and get that certification, they had to, achieve all of the goals of that program. And there was, an instructor component, et cetera. So again, if your only option is to study it on your own, I encourage you to do the due diligence and look into that. But typically, employers are looking more towards those that have actually been through kind of a validated program. And then I'll just keep firing through these, Marnie. I'm on a roll. So someone asked how much experience you need to start the program. That's really the great thing about 1150. And I want to be clear, we don't say that we can turn everybody and anybody into a cybersecurity or coding expert. We do have an admissions process, and you do have to pass some tests, but they're more let's just put it this way: we haven't had any issues with military folks passing any of these tests. We have had people that come into our program with zero experience. We've had some that have come in with maybe a couple college classes, and then we've had some that have come to us with a full 4-year computer science degree. The great thing is, by the third week, no matter their experience, they're all drinking from the same fire hose, and they're all coming together as a cohort, because the content is new for everybody. So you can have zero to some experience and you'll still be successful in the program. The biggest piece and the biggest evaluative tool that we utilize is what we call pre-work. And so as you go through some of our free courses and talk with our admissions folks, and if it's something that you're interested in, we'd have you do pre-work, which varies from about 20 to 30 hours of work that you have to complete before you can start on day one. And the nice thing about pre-work is we can see who started it, who's doing it, and who isn't. And if something happens, if life happens and it's a couple days before you're supposed to start, and we see that you haven't done your pre-work yet, we're going to reach out to you, have a conversation. Hey, do we need to bump your start date back a little bit? What's going on? What's preventing you from doing this? So we really make sure, because it doesn't do us any good to have anybody come into the program that's not going to be successful. We're a nonprofit and we need outcomes. And so, we really strive to meet and exceed our current 89% certification pass rates and our 80% plus job placement rates in cybersecurity. And it's because of that value that employers see in us. It's important that we bring in people that are going to be successful. So if you haven't had any experience in the past, Jesus, it's okay. Feel free to reach out and we can kind of talk to you a little bit more about that. Okay, and then Eric asked, is the SkillBridge eligible? Again, I would encourage you to reach out to one of our admissions folks. I'm pretty sure that it is, but I don't want to give you any misinformation on that. And like I mentioned, our director of admissions is a veteran, and so he's pretty much in tune with all of those updates. So again, encourage you to reach out to that. Entrance exam or anything you need to pass before taking the course. Yeah. So again, there's a kind of a basic personality test, a reading and digital literacy test, and a couple other assessments. And then, like I mentioned, the biggest piece is this pre-work component as well. Let's see. One thing I did, I'm going to put Marnie, are they able to see the chat? I was going to share my LinkedIn profile, so in case if people had questions or didn't miss things.
Sorry, you can share it in the chat. Yep, helps if I turn on my microphone.
Yeah. So everybody on this call, I added my LinkedIn profile. Feel free, if you have questions, to contact me. Again, I may not know the answers, but I'll make sure I get you pointed in the right direction. And yeah, so anyway, that's in there if you guys have other questions. Marnie, any other questions that you saw that okay, one is, do you have any hiring partners in the Huntsville, Alabama area? Brian, not at the moment. It doesn't mean that we won't. I think particularly as we scale up our partnership with Hiring Our Heroes and start offering some courses around different bases, that is definitely an area that we have our eye on. We do, like I mentioned, we do work with a number of global brands, and some of those locations may have, some of those partners may have a location in Huntsville. I just don't know off the top of my head, but we work with a lot of global employers. So I'd have to look in a little bit more there, but would certainly be more than willing to entertain an additional conversation with you. Active or secret or TS clearance, any agency initiate the clearance process. Pradeep, I don't know the answer to that. I just know that a lot of our employer partners, particularly Amazon, are willing to look at anybody that has the cybersecurity background with some of those clearances. And I'm not a military person, so I'm not able to speak as eloquently as I'd like. That really, the clearance component, where to go about getting it, I don't know the answer to that. I can just speak to which employer partners of ours highly covet those.
Just for the rest of the group, since this is being recorded too, if people want to refer to it later, the question was just, yeah, how to have active secret or TS clearance. And then the companies usually will initiate it if you don't have it, but the fact that you've had one in the past and you have been cleared does help and work to your advantage.
Britt Manor asked a question, do you offer cloud courses in these programs? We currently don't, but we are working with Amazon to build an AWS as well as a cloud program. I think an appropriate timeline on that is probably closer to January when we would have that. Hopefully we can spin it up a little bit faster, but we currently don't have it. It's currently in development. Okay, what about some of us that have had some certifications already, but having issues landing a job due to lack of experience in cybersecurity or not having security clearance? So, and I apologize, it looks like it's Talupe or Talup is the name. So there's a couple of things that we can address with that. If you already have some cybersecurity experience, but maybe haven't had time on a range, our one solution is that you could come to 1150 and just do kind of the last badge, the last component, and work on our range for like 3 to 4 weeks and earn what's called our red badge. So if you've already taken some cybersecurity courses, you could probably test out of the first 2 badges and just be involved in some range pieces. We also have, a number of folks that may be looking to hire interns, et cetera. So there's always opportunities. There's pathways with some of Hiring Our Heroes employer partners as well. I know Amazon has a pretty aggressive pathway. So there's options, and just encourage you to not only reach out to 1150, but also connect with Hiring Our Heroes and see what partnerships they have where, an apprenticeship or an internship component may be available as well. Do you have any employers in California for remote positions? I would have to check on that. I don't know off the top of my head. We do have 2 students from California, so it's likely that we probably have some employer partner there. Are we looking to hire instructors, Britt? Yes, absolutely. Feel free to message me and I can connect you with our learning team. Does the bootcamp coursework allow attendees to certify with other certs like OSCP? I don't know the answer to that, Rodney, but if you message me, I will get you in touch with David Witt, who's our director of cybersecurity. Some of those other certs may be part of the rollout that's coming in January, or some of those, there may be some alignments there, but feel free to message me and I'll get you connected with David. Marnie, any other questions that you saw that maybe I missed?
Yeah, so some of the people joined late, so there's a couple that might just be a reference to, well, one, this session is recorded. So for anyone that did join later, if you want to review it in its entirety, we will be posting it on our resource page. And at the end of the presentation, you will have that website link to go to for that. It was, one question was just about the certs that you offer. If you could just review that for the group.
Sure. Yep. So our program right now, it sets you up to test and pass the CompTIA Network Plus and Security Plus certifications. And so that is part of your tuition, and we're in a Pearson VUE approved testing facility. So it's actually built into the curriculum. We allow every student to sit for the exam twice. And as I mentioned, we're currently at a 90% pass rate on both of those certifications. So yeah, it's actually built into the curriculum and it is part of what you leave with in addition to your 1150 certification. So 1150 is recognized by employer partners, but the CompTIA Net and Sec Plus are recognized as industry standards. And then again, in January, for that person that came in late, we're rolling out pathways to 9 new CompTIA cyber badges.
And criteria to be eligible to start, how much experience do you need to start the program? Is there an entrance exam?
Yeah, sorry. So not an entrance exam. You have to be at least 18, a high school graduate, which all of you would be. There is, you need to take one of our free intro courses, which is just like a 2-hour course that's offered each week. And that's mainly to see if it's something that you're interested in. And then there is kind of a reading and writing literacy, digital literacy exam, a basic personality test. And then the biggest key is what we call pre-work. So as you're going through the process before you can actually start, you need to do a week of, you need to do 20 to 30 hours of pre-work, and it's a program that we provide to you. And what that does is it kind of makes sure that it is something that you're interested in. It allows us to kind of check and see, you know, your competencies. But also, if something happens and we realize that you haven't started your pre-work yet, and it's a couple of days before your class is supposed to start, it gives us an opportunity to reach out to you and kind of connect and say, hey, you know, do we need to look at backing your start date up? What's going on? What can we do to help? Another important piece with our program is that we also have what's called a learning gym. And so it's an opportunity. Right now it's all virtual, but soon it'll be virtual and live in our Indianapolis campus, where folks have an opportunity to connect with alums, people that have gone through the program. There's new content that's always pushed out in the learning gym as kind of like opportunities for you to test and practice your skills. And we do that both for web dev, software development, and cybersecurity as well. So there's a ton of resources that you can utilize, but the biggest piece is making sure it's something that you're passionate about, and then getting through the pre-work. And I have an understanding that the pre-work is not easy. There's going to be challenges there, but it's there to give you the best glimpse of what completing our program is going to look like. And again, we talk to all of our audiences about needing a specific grit and determination factor to be able to get through our program. The one thing that we see in buckets with our veteran students is that they absolutely exhibit that grit and that determination, mainly because of you're going through a similar process. I mean, you're all familiar with what a boot camp is. It's very similar. It breaks you down, and it's meant to do that. It's breaking you down to get you skilled up in a new career pathway. Someone asked about VRREP. Yeah, we aren't, but we're in the process of doing that right now. All of our resources are tied to getting the vet tech approval first, but we will then revisit the VRAP as well. Rashan Harris asked, what happens if you don't pass by the second try on the exam? We would take that as a case-by-case basis. We haven't had that happen yet, but if it were, I'm sure we could figure something out. Any employers in the Raleigh-Durham research triangle? Again, I'm not sure off the top of my head. It was an anonymous attendee. Feel free to shoot me a message on my LinkedIn. I'll put my email address in here as well. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask.
While you're typing that in, and if you could just refresh the audience, is this a SkillBridge program, meaning service members can attend while they're still on active duty, or is it something they do after active duty?
Yeah, if they're active duty, we would probably recommend that they go through our part-time program. So yes, they can do SkillBridge, but if they wouldn't be able to do our full-time program because of the time commitment associated with the full-time. So full-time is 40 hours a week without you having done any work yet. So again, on the specific logistics on that, I would encourage you to reach out to Dave Brunner, our director of admissions, but really you could talk to any of our admissions team members. If you go to 1150.org, there's a tab there to have a conversation with an admissions team member, and they can talk to you a little bit more specifically about that. Okay, and then Michelle asked, if I have the Sec Plus cert, do I just build up from there? Yeah, if you already have the Sec Plus cert, that's fantastic. We would still be more than willing to talk to you about what you're looking to do, and probably even be willing to help you provide some career services assistance. Again, our next access to badges beyond the network and Sec Plus aren't going to be available until January, but we definitely want to keep connected with you, Michelle, because when those go live, hopefully you'll be working somewhere and then can maybe consider enrolling in our programs part-time. Really, by the time you finish that, it's a year long if you did it in its entirety, but it's broken up in like 5-week segments. or 10-week part-time segments. But really, you would then be set for life with all of the available CompTIA cybersecurity badges or certifications. Sorry. Other questions? How much coding do we have to have
in the boot camp?
Brent, you don't have to have any coding experience up front to get into the cybersecurity boot camp. It's helpful, but it's not required. Looking to sign up for 1150 with no experience in cybersecurity, also graduating in information technology with an active secret clearance. Should I try and pursue an entry-level job or wait till? I mean, Refa, I always encourage people to try and gain employment as quickly as possible. I think getting employment while taking our program part-time is challenging, but you're also earning money. I think, you'd be perfect candidate to talk to one of our admissions folks, and they could walk you through it in a little bit more detail. It really kind of depends on each individual scenario, right? Everybody has life commitments and life happens a lot. So you could probably enroll in our part-time program and then also look for employment opportunities as well. And not that I would ever want to pull you from your current employer. So that's not what I'm trying to say. But after you completed your program with us, there might be even more opportunities available for you that we would certainly be willing to try and, help you fill as well. Whew. Any other questions?
I know. Whirlwind.
This is an active group. I love it.
I love it. Yeah, I really appreciate. Kudos to everyone who has asked some questions, and we love the engagement. That's exactly what we want. So we're getting ready to wrap up the hour. I want to redirect everyone. Call to action. Definitely sign up for one of their upcoming courses, and certainly reach out to Chris or Hutch if you have any other questions too. He'll funnel them into the right lane to make sure that those are answered. And like he said during the presentation, and what we are here doing at Hiring Our Heroes is making sure that you are leveraging every resource as a pathway to employment. And 1150 Academy is just a phenomenal resource for the cybersecurity pathway and just the IT industry at large. And so what they're doing and working with employers. So our goal is to do direct employment through these types of programs. And as Hutch mentioned, the 200 plus companies that they work with that are hiring. This will just continue to grow. The demand is out there. This is a field that is not going away anytime soon. If anything, it will grow and expand. So it's an awesome pathway. And thank you so much, Hutch, for you joining us today. Awesome presentation for everyone that joined, our job seekers. We look forward to hearing from you. Keep us informed. If you could be our next hero hired, we'd love to share your success stories. And then our upcoming sessions. So in addition to what we had today, you can attend any of our upcoming sessions, which are on the schedule attached. We have a couple hiring events that are coming up. One is a Grow, that is a grassroots opportunity to work hiring fair focused on careers in North Carolina. So if you're interested, register for that. June 1st, we also have a virtual career summit, which is going to represent a variety of different industries. So I encourage you to sign up for that event and attend any of these webinars and sessions that will help prepare you for the engagement. And finally, if you are looking for a copy of this recorded session, it is going to be on our website at hiringourheroes.org/resources. So you are able to connect to that and any of our other recorded sessions that we have conducted over the last few months and even into the last year. So we thank again 1150 Academy for joining us today. Thank all of you and look forward to seeing you again soon. Be well.